Have you heard the story of the boy that on his 18th birthday, his grandfather gifts him a pocket watch? And he tells the boy, take the watch down to the pawn shop, and whatever they tell you it's worth, you get to keep. The boy's excited, filled with joy and wonder, takes the watch down to the pawn shop and gives it to the clerk there. The clerk looks it over, sees that it's, an old, worn out watch and, barely working, and hands the watch back to the kid and says, "We'll give you $10 for it, kid. This old thing is worthless." And the boy shakes his head and says, "This is my grandfather's watch," and, decides not to take the money. So he's walking home, he's kicking rocks and head hung low, disappointed with the number. He gets back home and tells his grandfather that, yeah, they said they would only give me $10 for the watch, said it was worthless. Grandfather says, "Okay, now take this watch and take it down to the antique shop over on 5th and ask them the same question. And whatever they tell you it's worth, you get to keep." So the boy, reluctantly, takes the watch down to the antique shop down on 5th and hands it to the clerk. And the clerk immediately recognizes it as an antique collector's item. And he tells the boy that it's worth $100,000. Filled with joy, still says that the watch is more valuable to him and decides to keep the watch because it's his grandfather's watch. And he runs home to tell his grandfather, "They told me it was worth $100,000, that it's a collector's item, and, that's how much they would give me." And the grandfather reminds the boy that just like the watch, he needs to go where he is most valued. He needs to go to the environment where his value will be recognized. I recently sat down for a conversation with CJ Finley on the last episode of the Stupid Gap podcast. CJ Finley is a passionate guy. He, longtime entrepreneur, multi-sport athlete, endurance athlete, husband, father. The guy's doing it. He's living a life. And we spoke about his journey through the Stupid Gap and how at 23 years old, he landed what he described as dream job as an engineer with this big mega corporation that sent him out to the Swiss Alps, put him up in this beautiful villa, and he's staring out the window, looking at the Swiss Alps, thinking about he made it. But it scared him because internally he knew that if he were to settle into this role, he'd be sacrificing his true calling. And he didn't know what it was yet, but he felt that first twinge of, I'm built for more. I'm built for more. And his wake-up moment, or what I would call his wake-up moment, came when his grandfather died. And he's standing in a room with all of his elders, the people that are genetically closest to him, and he's looking around the room at all the older guys in the room, and he had a epiphany, a moment of reckoning that he didn't look up to any of these guys, that he was built for more, and that he wanted to own his time. None of them had any time freedom. He didn't want to live a life like any of the people in his bubble, and that he needed to get out of his bubble if he wanted to change. And so he needed to go find a space where his value was recognized. And then he set off on a journey to go find that space. And that resonates so deeply with me. I respect it so much that he had this wake up moment so early in life. It took me a lot longer. It took me a lot longer to have that wake up moment, and to recognize that I was in the wrong bubble. And I've talked to so many other people that had a very similar experience of just recognizing that they were in the wrong space and they had to go out and find their people. And it has become very apparent that is one of the most highest return on investment, highest leverage things that you can do in the realm of personal growth is change your environment. If you change your environment, you change yourself, full stop. And so if you're a hard charger, you're a competitive person, you have the spirit and passion, and you have a high standard of living, and the people around you find you maybe abrasive, or they find you to be, threatening effectively. They find you to be threatening sometimes. If it challenges when your spirit is high and you're competitive and you want to do more in the world, when you're around people that don't see that in themselves or have pushed that feeling down in themselves, you become a threat because you're now challenging their way of life, and you're reminding them of potentially of the spirit that they squashed. And so when you step out of that bubble and you go find your people, try to find people that are doing the same things as you. And you need to find your tribe. And it's incredibly difficult when you're standing on the precipice of that feeling of, do I succumb to the pressure, to the comfort and of this complacent place that I'm in? And do I settle into this role of complacency, and do I push down this calling that I have inside of me? Or do I step into the unknown? Do I step into the stupid gap and go try to find my people? And it's terrifying, particularly at a young age, which is why I respect CJ so much for leaving his comfortable career, his dream job, to step into the unknown as a personal trainer. He was nuts. He said he left an $80,000 job right out of college to go be a personal trainer because he knew in that moment when he saw his elders and he saw his family and he recognized that, hey, I got to do something about this. He knew that he was built for more. And he had the confidence to step into the stupid gap and go out there and build a life that he didn't want to escape. And so if you're somebody that is standing on this precipice, how can you get there? And CJ and I both talked about frameworks for getting this done during our conversation. And I'll talk about my personal framework that I use in coaching that I've used in my own personal life. And I'm a slut for mnemonics, and it's the gap, right? You're staring at the gap. How do I bridge this gap? And it's right there. The mnemonic is GAP: goals, actions, and planning. And so what does this look like in practice? Goals. It's the who, what, when, where, and why of what you want to do, of building this life that you don't want to escape. And this step is the most critical step. It deserves your attention. It deserves your intention. This is not something that you should do haphazardly, okay? Especially if you're stepping out into the unknown, away from your family or away from security or things like that. Or if you have a family already or you have responsibility, obviously this is not something that should be done haphazardly, right? And so you want to give it some intentionality. So who, what, when, where, and why? Who do I want to be? That starts with knowing who you are now. It starts with recognizing and knowing a deep sense of self. What are my core values? How do I want to show up in the world? What is important to me? What is not important to me? What motivates me? What makes me feel drained of energy? What excites me? All of these things, sitting down with a pen and paper or on your computer or running it through chat or doing a verbal dump or videoing yourself or whatever medium you choose, getting this stuff out of here and into the world, into something that you can reference, okay? Starts with that. Who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What do I want to offer the world? Okay, and this is tied to your purpose. If you can tie it to your purpose, it's gonna make the journey so much easier and so much more enjoyable along the way. And that's a difficult task, because when you're talking about the topic of purpose, it gets so muddied with external validation, with conditioning, with the things that, we thought were important in those, money, status, power, all of these things that we think are going to bring our life joy and fulfillment, and they will in some form or fashion. But is it tied to your purpose? Why are you here on this planet? What is your mission here? And deciding your purpose is, I think, again, another high leverage thing that you can do in your life. Massive return on investment, because when you wake up every day and you're connected to your purpose You can't wait to get out of bed. You can't wait to get the day started and to make progress on your goals and push towards your goals because it's your purpose. It's why you're here. But it's difficult to find. So, who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? Where do I want to be doing it? Where are the people that are doing what I'm doing? Where are they? Go find my people. You got to find your people. We are tribal a tribal species, right? And that's why it's so difficult to step into this gap of leaving your old bubble to find a new bubble because it's hard to find your tribe and you never know. You never know who's going to be what and if you're going to find them. But I promise you that you will if you just put yourself out there. And I know it's incredibly difficult to do sometimes for some people, but the juice is worth the squeeze. So who, what, when? When do I want to be doing this? What is my timeline for getting this done? Do I want to do I want to retire? When do I want to retire? Really being intentional about all of this and really building a big picture in terms of what your goal is for achieving this life that you're stepping into the unknown for. Because if not, then you're going to enter into the gap with a sense of feeling lost. And that can work for some. It can work for some. And I'm not saying that you absolutely have to know 100% what your purpose is and you have to be mission driven and you have to be locked into this stuff before you make a move. Sometimes you need to jump. You just need to jump and trust that you can figure it out along the way. That's one way to do it. But, a faster way to do it and a more efficient way to do it is to be very intentional about it. I myself, I didn't know. I didn't have these skills back then. I didn't have this knowledge back then. I didn't have anybody in my circle that thought like this. And so I just had to have the courage to just go. Something was broken in my life. Something was missing in my life. I felt called to do more. I felt I was built for more. And I just had to go. And it took me a long time to get through that stupid gap. And it cost me a lot of inefficient moves. I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of burned through a lot of money and I had to correct course a few times. But ultimately I got to where I wanted to go and I developed a lot of skills and habits along the way. But I had to go. But you don't have to. If you think about these things strategically before you jump, like CJ did, then your trajectory can be a little bit more smooth. So we talk about who, what, when, where. And the most important question, why? Why am I doing this? This one is the most important, the why. And again, deeply connected to your purpose, to meaning, to what you value in the world, to how you want to show up in the world. Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Am I doing it because it's novel? And I'm seeking something new? And it's, learn how to continually ask yourself why. And if you can learn to do that, then you can learn to tap into that voice inside of your head that speaks the truth, that tells you why, that I would call your intuition. And if you can learn to listen to your intuition and trust it, and trust that it's telling you the truth, because you've put in the forethought into your core values, into how you want to show up in the world, then you know that when you jump, you're doing it for the right reasons. Asking yourself why. And finally, the part of goal setting is there anybody that's already doing it that I have access to? For some of you, yeah, you can look around your bubble and you can see somebody that's like, oh, that guy seems like he's got it all figured out. Why don't I go talk to him and see how he got to where he is? That's great. That's the highest, the fastest way to get something done is to just go approach someone that's doing the thing that you want to be doing if you have access to them and saying, how do I get to where you are? And they most likely will be more than willing to help you. But if you don't have that, then again, look in the media, look at different role models across social media and, podcasts and platforms, and everybody's, founder-led brands, and everybody's got their own personal story out there. And so start sending emails, start sending DMs, make it personable, reach out to people. Hey, I want to do what you're doing. How do I get there? And see if they get back to you. So that'll speed up your process a lot. Next, A, actions. This is the how. How am I going to bridge this gap? How am I going to get there? How does someone that is already doing this, how are they spending their time? What are they thinking about? What is their perspective of the world like? How do I need to change my mindset in order to get into that space? How do I need to get rid of fear and any feelings of lack, any feelings of insecurity? How do I get my mind right so that I can make this leap with full confidence and with full energy and full force? How do I do that? What actions do I need to take day by day? What's my schedule need to be like? How much sleep do I need to get? How much exercise do I need to get? Anything you can think of, it goes in this space in terms of actions and what you can be doing. And then after you have this full scope of actions as to how you want to be living life and what you need to be doing, then you can start to make sense of it and put your ducks in a row and make incremental progress towards your goals, which we'll come back to in a second. Habits. What habits do you need to have, right? Diet, exercise, I talked about earlier, sleep, nutrition. What skills do you need to have? What do I need to learn? What books do I need to read? Podcasts do I need to watch? Courses do I need to take? Classes do I need to take? What do I need to learn? Do I need to learn sales? Do I need to learn marketing? Do I need to learn people skills, interpersonal skills? What would someone that is in doing this thing, what would their network be like? Who do I need to be around in order to feel like I'm in a cohesive and supportive environment? This is a big one, and everybody's heard it. Your network is your net worth. And outside of the context of business or money or finances, your net worth can just be your life satisfaction. Your network is who you're going to be surrounded by and who you fill yourself with, and who you're inspired by is your network. It's not just, tied to financial means and things like that. Okay, but it's who you spend your time with, who you're going to co-create with, who's your network. And of course, your environment. Change your environment, you change yourself. Again, I cannot overstate this. You change your environment, you change yourself. Go where you are valued. Go where you are appreciated, just like the boy with the watch. Go where you are valued. And finally, P, plan. We got goals, actions. P, plan. What is the plan? How am I going to get there? What do I have at my disposal right now that I could use to my advantage? What's my schedule look like? What do my days need to look like in order for me to make incremental growth and progress towards this goal? What does progress look like? What does progress mean to me? One thing that CJ and I talked about was delayed gratification. That was one of the main themes of our conversation, was delayed gratification and how important it is to accomplish a whole healthy life and playing. We talked about playing the infinite game, and we both look at life like an infinite game. The goal of an infinite game is not to win the game, it's to keep playing. And so that means it's making incremental progress, and it's sacrificing things that you might feel like you want to do today. CJ talked about, I want to learn jujitsu, but he also has young kids. And right now, he's made the decision that his time is better served teaching his kid how to ride a bike and spending time with his young kids and that's more valuable than learning how to do jujitsu himself. And he can always learn how to do jujitsu in the future, but right now his kids are only young for so long, so he's going to spend time there. And so it's looking at your life in a big picture, delayed gratification approach, and deciding what you want to delay in service of making this progress in your life. Also, you need to think about your limitations here. What am I not good at? We talked about it a little bit during actions, but what am I not good at? What do I need to learn? What are some inherent things that are deep-seated inside of me that I really want to change in order to live this life, build this life that I don't want to escape, and live this life that I say I want to live? What do I need to change? For me, it was self-esteem. My self-esteem was so low that it held me back from even believing that I could do things. And if you're in an environment that doesn't encourage you to go out and do big things and doesn't encourage you to think bigger and go find your value and all of these things, then if you don't have that intrinsic self-esteem, that confidence inside to say, no, screw that, I can go out and do whatever I want, it's going to be real difficult. It's going to be real difficult. And you need to fix yourself first. And you need to fix that inner voice inside of your head that's telling you you can't. But it starts with recognizing that you have that voice. And the way we do that is by practicing self-inquiry, by sitting with ourselves, practicing metacognition, which is the practice of thinking about our thoughts and observing our thoughts. I did this through meditation, journaling. You can do it through many ways, but those two seem to be the most common for a lot of people, and they really worked for me. I started keeping track of what thoughts, what narrative was running through my head telling me that I couldn't. And I noticed after keeping track of it that it was me. I was telling me that I couldn't do things. I was the one that was saying, oh, you can't do this. Who do you think you are? They can do that, but that's not for you. You're not good enough for that. And it's wrong. It's wrong. You can do anything you want. If it's within the realm of possibility in the context of physics, you can get it done. You might have to extend your time preference, extend your horizon, and it might be a long-term goal, but you can get it done if it's within the realm of possibility in physics. I truly believe that. And it's developing a muscle for optimism. You have to be a unwavering optimist in order to build a life that you don't want to escape. You have to believe, have faith that it is going to work out. If you just make incremental goals, and which brings me to my next step here in planning, which is how am I going to hold myself accountable? This is the thing that CJ called out as a part of something that was missing in the framework, but it's not missing. It's right here in planning. How am I going to hold myself accountable moving forward? And this is the number one it's the hardest thing to do when talking about personal development and growth, is holding yourself accountable. Because at first, you're going to make a lot of progress. You're going to make big progress, big gains. We'll put it in the context of the gym. You're going to make a lot of new gains, right? And you're going to get strong. You're going to lose some weight. You're going to drop pounds fast, and you're going to see a lot of progress, big progress real quick. But as you get further down this road and this path and through this gap, those returns are going to become smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's where CJ and I talked about this movie. And I was so stoked to talk about this movie during the thing because I haven't heard anybody else talk about this movie. And it's one of my favorite movies. It's called Any Given Sunday. Sports movie from the 90s, Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx. It's a gem. Go watch it. But Al Pacino is the coach for a pseudo NFL team, fake NFL team or whatever, and he gives a speech. And, it's the speech of the whole movie or whatever, and you're all gassed up for it. It's Al Pacino. So, and the premise of the speech is football and life is a game of inches. Inch by inch, play by play, until you're finished. And the point of life is to show up with the tenacity to fight, be willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. It's beautiful. Ooh, I got chills, goosebumps. Gets me fired up. I listen to the thing I listen to the speech all the time, and it just gets me fired up. So, but incremental growth. Everybody that I've talked to that has come through the Stupid Gap podcast has talked about incremental growth, whether it's been 0.1% every day, 1% every day, game of inches, whatever their framework is. It's everybody that's moving towards a path of prolonged personal growth recognizes that it comes in such small incremental doses. And what that means to you is you got to settle in for the long haul. This has to be an infinite game. You can't have short-term thinking in this game. You have to be willing to delay gratification. You have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to fight and die and claw with your fingernails for that inch. And no, take it as a signal. It's a feature, not a bug. It is a feature, not a bug, that incremental growth. But being able, developing the muscle and the sight and the insight to see and recognize that incremental growth is how you're going to make it through and how you're going to keep yourself accountable. Write them out. Game of inches. I have it written on my board above my desk. Game of inches. I write down every day, what are my inches today? How many inches am I going to accomplish today towards my goal? If it's one, that's 1 inch I made towards my goal. If it's all 6 or 8 or however many I wrote down, heck yeah, let's go. We're moving. We're moving today. But life is a game of inches. I'm so passionate about that. I'm fired up. So, but yeah, accountability. You got to learn how to hold yourself accountable, and it's the most difficult piece of personal growth for everybody. And so, also in the topic of conversation when it comes to accountability is grace. And CJ talked about his framework for winning 4 out of 7 days a week. If you win just 4 out of 7 days a week, then that means you've won the majority of the week, and that will compound over time. This was, boom, big light bulb moment for me. Just win the week, because he talks about, a lot of guys when they get into this gap and they get into this race, they want to win every single day. And it's just not reality. It's not reality. You're not going to win every day. And you got to be able to handle those failures, those setbacks, those days that you don't win, and be able to pick yourself up and do it again the next day, show up the next day to play the game. Because if you win just 4 out of 7, it compounds over time, and you will win life. You will get to where you need to go, and you will make that incremental growth. If you want to know more about the GAP framework, I will link a free PDF deliverable in the description. You download it, and it will walk you through this entire process. But I can tell you right now from my own experience, and something that I leveraged and what drew me to my purpose and passion in life and my profession now as a coach, is that having someone else in your corner that is thinking about your problem, your puzzle, your game objectively, side by side, and right there to keep you accountable, having a coach in your corner is a very high leverage thing that you can do in order to accomplish your goals. CJ's done it. Elite athletes do it. A lot of entrepreneurs that I know have worked with coaches. Anybody that I know personally that has gotten to where accomplished something big in their life, they've used a coach of some sort at one time or another. So if you're interested, I offer personal skills and mindset coaching that will help you connect to your purpose, develop agency, and it will help you navigate your own personal stupid gap. If this sounds interesting to you, check out my personal website, linked in the description, thatryangray.com. It'll be right next to the GAP framework deliverable. Schedule a vibe check session, and I'd be happy to see if I can be of service to you and help you navigate that gap. If you haven't already, check out the full conversation with me and CJ linked right here. Okay? And until next time, stay humble, stay curious.